My name is Zainab Bala. From when I started anchoring News Live a year ago, it keeps getting better as I strive to get better. Matters of two speakers in the Bauchi State House of Assembly following disagreement between legislators of All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party has elicited ill feeling. Our digital news platforms allow you to have access to stories wherever you are.
Therefore, we very much encourage early.
Dozens of people in Morocco's Fez province protested against the Egyptian couple. With your mobile devices, you can check our YouTube and Facebook pages for most trending news and videos. News Live comes to you straight from our studios right here in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. You can log on to our website on www.viewertv.com.ng for more information.
Comprises an army, navy, and air force. Its primary mandate is to defend the state from external aggression and internal insurrections. Now, since the 1960s, it has contributed to several internal security operations, helping the police and other civil authorities to restore law and public order. It has also contributed substantially to United Nations peacekeeping operations, regional peacekeeping operation, authorized by the Economic Community of West African States. Meanwhile, the operation is being mandated, most operations are being mandated by the African Union. Its senior level training institutes continue to attract officers from foreign, militaries. The Nigerian Armed Forces, rated one of Africa's strongest and mainstay of regional peacekeeping, not without its challenges, of course. The initial slow, heavy-handed response to the Islamist Boko Haram insurgency raised serious concerns, and its human rights record underscored a grave disconnect with civilians before now. The President Muhammadu Buhari administration has taken some steps to reverse the decline and has recorded significant gains against Boko Haram, but the ongoing persecution of former chiefs for graft have further deepened the military's reputation as poorly governed and corrupt. The government and military chiefs, working with the National Assembly, civil society, and international partners, need to do more, implement comprehensive defense sector reform, including clear identification of security challenges, a new defense and security policies and structure to address them, and of course drastic improvement in leadership oversight, administration, and accountability across the sector. Since assuming office in May 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed new and more competent service chief, relocated the military command center dedicated to the fight against Boko Haram to the northeast, and probed past weapons procurement. These actions have had salutary effects, but the benefits will be short-lived unless they are followed by formulation and implementation of a comprehensive reform program that encompasses the entire defense management spectrum, including leadership, oversight, and administration. Failure to implement such reforms would leave the military distressed and Nigerians vulnerable to the current and future security challenges. Now, this takes us to our topic of discussion for today. Where would we be looking at the reforms of the military past and present with a focus on funding? In the studio with me to discuss all of this is a senior journalist, media consultant in the name of Collins Ajibola. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Dakore, for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
You're always welcome. Now, talking about the rising insecurity, what is your reaction to the headline? Are we now at the point where the youth gets to take the laws into their hands? Angry youth attack Oyo police headquarters over serial killers escape.
I think it was actually a very unfortunate incident that occurred over there in Ibadan, precisely Oyo State. We must also not forget the fact that the public still awaits the police to give them details of how this suspect escaped from their custody, because ideally, if somebody is allegedly a serial killer, the person should under massive and serious protection, talking about security-wise. So if such could escape from their custody, for a lot of questioning. And the youths are actually asking some question. How did this person escape from your custody? Owing to the fact also that the very day he escaped, or just moments after, he went again and committed same crime. Now he's on the loose, on the let loose, and the public are actually scared. So yes, it shouldn't be encouraged. Talking about youth taking the laws into their hand and also going to attack police formation or even any kind of formation, but it shows the fact that people are beginning to perhaps lose that confidence in our policing, and it's not a good one.
Okay, now do you think we don't even understand the problem that we are really facing when it comes to insecurity, or can't we even solve it at all for the fact that this criminal was let loose?
I don't believe
what really happened.
I really don't subscribe to the fact that we don't know, or we don't understand the situation on ground. If somebody, perhaps a burglar, comes to your house and goes away with your valuable items, you definitely know and begin to count losses. But the fact is, I think we are yet to actually find lasting solution to some of this. And again, yes, many people might have it onto perhaps youth unemployment, or perhaps youth restiveness, as you want to have it. But I believe we know what our challenges are. It's perhaps what you want to say is the political will is lacking. But again, security is everybody's business, and all hands must be on deck, the citizens, the security agents, to nip this in the bud.
Okay, now I want to ask this. Why does this seem tougher for the security agencies to handle? Do you think the communication system is faulty? Or better still, how best can the traditional rulers and the religious leader help the security agents in curbing insecurity in the community?
I think yes, a very good question. I think the right step we've taken is just this approval by the president of the community policing, and also going on to release about 13 billion for the takeoff of such. Remember that it was actually a regional issue recently that also led to the formation of Amotekun in the southwest and also the southeast, considering theirs, and even the northern part of the country. So I think now we will begin to have a kind of perhaps synergy, good communication, like you said, between the community dwellers and also the security agents, talking about the community police that will be deployed. But again, my fears, and perhaps the fears of many, is the fact that hope the state governors that will be the key actors in this will not take this into their hands and perhaps begin to do whatever they like with it.
Okay, let's go into the main topic of discussion and then diverting or digressing into the questions. Now, what is this military reforms? Let's start with that first of all.
Well, if you are talking about military reforms, generally it has to do with perhaps structural readjustment, rethinking. The war against insurgents and perhaps the fight against insecurity is one that is evolving, because gone are the days where you have perhaps all these bandits that we don't even hear of them in this country. Now they are with sophisticated arms, carrying out perhaps attack, using even some kind of intelligence too with the community. So when we talk about reform, it's all about perhaps the military formation readjusting its tactics and perhaps its strategy in curbing this insecurity and incessant killings and maimings of the citizens. Okay,
good enough. You've talked about the restructuring and everything, but now let's go deeper in terms of improving administrative capacity, building or rather organizing more training for civilian staff in such areas as procurement management, project monitoring and evaluation. What do you have to say about all of this when it talks about when you go deeper into the military reform? Because many people believe that the military should undergo a lot of readjustment in terms of productivity.
There is no doubt, and there is no gainsaying the fact that the world itself is evolving, like I said earlier, and also we must perhaps follow the trend. You can't be left behind in the past centuries. As the world is progressing, we should be progressing. In that stead, administratively, those who should be perhaps in charge of some of the duties must carry out their duties. When it comes to capacity and perhaps developmental training, we must also not perhaps shy away from that. We must not perhaps tell ourselves lies. We must begin to tell ourselves the truth. Our military is being overstretched. Why? Perhaps because of the manpower and what you have. But again, that doesn't mean that they are not doing well. They are doing their best, but they still need support. Support from where? From you and I, from the community. They are in spirit, so they can't actually get what they need. They need the communities to actually come to their aid. And how do they do that? Sometimes you go undercover, sometimes you perhaps use the community as informant, just like the Nigerian military have been doing so far, and the villages in some parts of the country contributing immensely. if somebody is actually taking charge of that, then those who are on the field can actually go about that.
Is it segregated to just Nigerian army alone, or just the whole of the armed forces?
It's the whole of the armed forces,
Okay.
because now even the fight we are fighting against insurgents and bandits across the country, with the most recent one, the killings and the maimings in Southern Kaduna, it involves all. Yes, you might say because there is no body of water in Southern Kaduna, the Navy might not be deployed, but good, we already deployed the ground army, talking about the Nigerian army, and also the area bombardment that will be coming from the Nigerian Air Force. So there is no way we can do away with that synergy. They must all come together. That's also not to say that the police will not be involved and other security agents.
Okay, another area is that of improved training in military institutions by ensuring adequate instructors, more relevant, how do I put this, more relevant instructors or more relevant modules, do you understand, and modern equipment. How have we fared in the area like in the past, and how are we going to manage such situation in the country currently?
Well, I know in the past, especially in the past administration, there were some lapses of perhaps or some miscommunication or bilateral miscommunication, if you want to see it,
okay.
Talking about procurement of arms. But I think in this, perhaps under this present dispensation, it has been a lot better, because the military would come out to tell you that, look, we are better equipped now than it was before.
What can we add in that area? What can be added to
now
make
you
it
know,
beautiful?
we don't now, for now, except for handful, we are not actually producing or manufacturing the perhaps the quantity and the quality of arms and ammunition we need to actually tackle this. So I think what we need to do is to perhaps go into some kind of cooperation and perhaps bilateral relationship with some countries that will already exist, deepening those bilateral relationships for us to get what we need to nip this this insecurity and perhaps the bandits and Boko Haram challenges we face in the country.
Part of production, does it have to do with funding?
Absolutely. There is no way you can perhaps do away with that. It's actually a critical factor. Even if you are going to buy, aside just producing, you definitely need to deploy funds, a lot of funds for that, because the thing is, fighting insecurity is no mean feat. You must definitely deploy all your resources, and the resources number one has to do with funding.
Okay, some National Assembly members believe that the armed forces need special funding to be able to combat crime and fight insecurity and terrorism, of course.